The great hall of Vega Station floated in the darkness between stars. Inside, representatives from 40 different species gathered around a circular table that glowed with soft blue light. The air felt heavy with tension. Outside the massive windows, stars twinkled peacefully, unaware of the crisis brewing inside. Overlord Vextar stood at the center of the room. His scales gleamed dark red under the lights, and his yellow eyes scanned the assembled leaders with barely hidden contempt. He was the ruler of the Dracnoth Empire, and everyone in the room feared him. His empire had conquered 17 worlds in the last decade, and now he wanted more. "The matter is simple," Vextar said, his voice like grinding stone. 12 independent systems lie in sectors we require. They will submit to Dracnoth rule, or they will burn. I do not ask for your permission. I inform you as a courtesy. High Chancellor Mira, leader of the Avian Confederation, spread her feathered wings in distress. You cannot simply claim inhabited worlds. The Galactic Charter forbids. The Charter is words on a screen, Vextar interrupted. I deal in reality. My fleets are already moving. You have 3 days to evacuate anyone you wish to save. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Or stay and fight. We both know how that will end. In the shadows of the upper gallery, an old woman watched the proceedings. She wore the simple robes of a Tyrillian merchant, her face hidden beneath a hood. Her name was Narration, and she was the last human most of the galaxy would ever see. Or so they thought. Nari remembered when humans walked these halls openly. That was 300 years ago, before the Great Departure. The galaxy had written humanity off as cowards who ran when challenged. They told stories of the weak species that fled into the dark rather than face the stronger races. But Nari knew the truth. Humanity hadn't run away. They had made a choice. Trademaster Quilox, representing the Hive Collective, clicked his mandibles nervously. Perhaps we could negotiate a compromise? The Dracnoth could have mining rights while the populations remain. I do not compromise, Vextar said. I take what I want. Your species learned this lesson when you opposed me 10 years ago. Do you need a reminder of what happened to Hive World 7? Quilox went silent. Everyone in the room knew the story. Hive World 7 had resisted the Dracnoth. Now it was an empty rock floating in space, its atmosphere burned away. Chancellor Mira looked around the table desperately. Surely someone will stand with these innocent worlds. The Confederation alone cannot face the Dracnoth fleets. Silence answered her. One by one, the representatives looked away. Fear had won again. Vextar laughed, a sound like breaking rocks. This is why the strong rule and the weak serve. You talk of justice and rights, but when power comes knocking, you hide like prey animals. He turned toward the gallery, his eyes sweeping over the observers. Even the legendary humans understood this. Where are they now? Extinct, most likely. Devoured by the darkness they fled into. Nari's hands clenched inside her sleeves. She wanted to shout, to tell this monster that he understood nothing. But not yet. The time was not right. The vote came quickly. 38 species voted to abandon the 12 systems. Only 2 voted to resist. The resolution passed. The independent worlds were on their own. As the assembly broke up, Nari slipped through the crowded corridors. She moved like water, flowing through gaps in the crowd, invisible in her merchant disguise. She made her way to the lower levels where the old communication arrays still operated. These systems dated back to before the Dracnoth rose to power, before the modern councils formed. In a forgotten maintenance room, Nari removed her hood. Her face was lined with age, but her eyes burned with purpose. She activated a small device from her pocket. It looked like an ordinary data pad, but it was much more. This device had waited 3 centuries for this moment. Her fingers moved across the controls, entering codes that no living being besides her remembered. The device hummed to life, its screen glowing green. A single prompt appeared. Authorization required. Nari Cho, Ambassador 3rd Human Confederation, she said quietly. Authorization code Autumn Wind 779. The device beeped. Authorization accepted. Awaiting message. Nari took a deep breath. 300 years of waiting came down to this moment. To all human forces in deep space. The promise we made is called due. The galaxy needs us. The time has come, she pressed send. The message compressed into a tight beam and shot into the darkness beyond the galaxy's edge, traveling faster than light toward coordinates that appeared on no star charts. Nari sat back, suddenly feeling every one of her 93 years. She had been just a child when humanity left known space. Her grandmother had been one of the last ambassadors, had made the choice to stay behind and watch, to wait for the moment when humanity would be needed again. The legend will become real now, Nari whispered to the empty room. Let's hope we're ready. Far beyond the edge of known space, in a region where stars grew thin and darkness ruled, something stirred. Vast structures hidden in the void for centuries began to wake. Lights flickered on in windows that stretched for kilometers. Engines that had slept for generations began to warm up. Crews that had lived their entire lives in preparation moved to their stations. In the command center of the largest structure, Admiral Hyun Kang stood before a massive display showing the received message. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady hands. Behind him, hundreds of officers waited at their stations watching him. How long until we can move? Hyun asked. All primary fleets will be ready in 48 hours, sir, a young officer reported. Secondary fleets within 96 hours, Hyun nodded slowly. 300 years we've prepared. 300 years we've built, trained, and waited. He turned to face his crew. Our ancestors left known space to prevent a war they knew they couldn't win without destroying everything. They chose to wait, to grow stronger, to become worthy of the responsibility they knew would come. He pointed at the message on the screen. That day is here. The galaxy that once feared us, that once drove us away, now needs us. They think we're extinct. They think humanity was weak. They're about to learn the truth. Hyun's voice grew stronger. We didn't run. We prepared. Now we go back, not as conquerors, but as the guardians we promised to be. Alert all battle groups. Begin final preparations. In 2 days, humanity returns to the stars. Across the hidden shipyards, humanity's secret came to life. Ships larger than cities began to move. Weapons that operated on principles the galaxy had forgotten powered up. Soldiers who had trained their whole lives for this moment suited up for battle. The legend was about to become very real. The Draknoth warships descended on the Valen system like a plague of metal locusts. 300 vessels, each bristling with weapons, surrounded the small colony world. The people below had nowhere to run. Their defense fleet consisted of 20 outdated patrol ships that wouldn't last 10 minutes against even one Draknoth destroyer. Captain Sora Lim watched from the darkness. Her ship, the Silent Dawn, hung invisible in the shadow of Valen's moon. Special coating covered every surface of her vessel, absorbing sensors and light. To the Draknoth fleet, her ship simply didn't exist. They're beginning bombardment of military targets, her sensor officer reported quietly. Through the view screen, Sora watched bright flashes on the planet's surface. Each flash meant hundreds of lives ended. Are the evacuation ships away? Sora asked. Yes, Captain. 3 civilian transports escaped during the initial chaos. Maybe 5,000 people. 5,000 saved. 20 million remained below. Sora's jaw tightened. Continue recording everything. Command needs to see what we're dealing with. On the planet's surface, the Draknoth ground forces landed. They moved through cities with brutal efficiency, rounding up populations and separating them into groups. The strong would become slaves. The weak would be eliminated. This was the Draknoth way. In orbit, Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the conquest with satisfaction. This was the third world to fall in 6 days. 12 more remained. By the end of the month, his empire would control this entire sector. Overlord, the population centers are secured, his second-in-command reported. Resistance was minimal. As expected, Vextar replied. These weak species never learn. They build their peaceful little worlds and forget that the universe belongs to the strong. He turned to his tactical officer. Set course for the Helion system. We strike there next. Far from the battle, aboard a massive vessel hidden in deep space, Dr. Taeyang Im reviewed the data streaming in from Captain Sora's observations. He was a scientist who had spent 40 years studying alien psychology and warfare. His research would help humanity understand their enemies. Fascinating, Taeyang muttered, adjusting his glasses. The Draknoth command structure is extremely rigid. Every decision flows from the top down. No initiative allowed at lower levels. General Yuna Bayek stood beside him, watching the same data with different eyes. Where Taeyang saw psychology, she saw weakness. They're predictable then. Take out their commanders and the whole structure collapses. Exactly, Taeyang agreed. They're strong individually, but their system makes them vulnerable. One decisive strike at their leadership could shatter entire fleets. Yuna smiled grimly. Good. We'll need every advantage. She was humanity's top ground commander, a woman who had trained for 30 years for battles she had never expected to fight. Now those battles were coming. On the silent dawn, Sora prepared to leave the Valen system when her communications officer sat up straight. "Captain, I'm detecting something strange. A small ship trying to break orbit. It's damaged and barely holding together." Sora checked her displays. A tiny craft, little more than a pod, struggled to escape the planet's gravity. Dracnoth fighters were closing in fast. "How many people aboard?" "Sensors show 4 life signs. 3 adults, 1 juvenile." Sora made her decision in seconds. Helm, intercept course. Weapons, prepare to engage. Let's save who we can. The Silent Dawn dropped her stealth coating and accelerated. She was a small ship, but fast and armed with weapons far more advanced than anything the Dracnoth had seen. Sora's crew had trained for this moment their entire lives. "Fire when ready," Sora commanded. 2 precise shots lanced out from the Silent Dawn. The Dracnoth fighters exploded before they could react. Sora's ship swooped in, caught the damaged pod in a tractor beam, and vanished back into stealth before the Dracnoth fleet could respond. In the enemy flagship's command center, alarms blared. "Overlord, we detected weapons fire. 2 fighters lost." Vextar's head snapped up. "From what?" "Scan the area." "Scans show nothing, sir. Whatever attacked is gone." Vextar's claws scraped against his command chair. "Impossible. Nothing can hide from our sensors. Search again." But the Silent Dawn was already gone, jumping to faster-than-light speed with her rescued passengers safely aboard. In the medical bay, Sora watched as doctors checked the 4 survivors. 3 were avians, bird-like people with colorful feathers. The 4th was young, maybe 16 in human years. She was an avian girl with bright blue plumage and eyes full of terror. "You're safe now," Sora said gently. "You're aboard a rescue ship." The girl stared at her. "What are you?" "I've never seen your species before. My name is Sora. I'm human." The girl's eyes went wide. "Human? But that's impossible. Humans are just legends. Stories my grandmother told me." "What did your grandmother say about humans?" Sora asked. The girl's voice shook as she spoke. "She said humans were powerful but kind, that they left the galaxy long ago but promised to return if they were ever truly needed. She said they would come back to protect the weak when evil grew too strong." Tears ran down the girl's face. "But they're just stories. No one is coming to save us." Sora knelt down to the girl's level. "What's your name?" "Kira." "Kira, your grandmother was right. Humans are real, and we're coming back. I promise you that." Kira looked at Sora with desperate hope. "Can you stop them?" "The Dracnoth destroyed my home. They killed my parents." "Can humans really stop them?" Sora thought of the vast fleets being assembled in deep space. Ships that could level mountains or save worlds. Weapons that operated on principles the current galaxy had forgotten. 300 years of preparation all leading to this moment. "Yes," Sora said simply. "We can stop them. And we will." In the deepest parts of space where darkness ruled and stars were just distant points of light, the hidden shipyards continued their awakening. Admiral Hyun Kang walked through the command deck of his flagship, the Indomitable. The ship was over 5 kilometers long, carrying enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But it wasn't alone. Behind it, hundreds of other ships assembled in formation. Carriers that could launch 1,000 fighters, destroyers that moved faster than light itself. Cruisers armed with weapons the galaxy had never seen, all of them crewed by people who had lived their entire lives training for this moment. "All primary battle groups report ready, Admiral," his executive officer reported. "We can jump in 36 hours. Yun looked out at the assembled fleet. 300 years ago, humanity had left known space with a few dozen colony ships. They had been running from a war they couldn't win without destroying themselves and everyone else. They had made a choice: leave and return stronger, or stay and watch the galaxy burn. Now they were returning. Not as the frightened refugees who left, but as something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. "Send a message to all fleet commanders," Hyun ordered. "Tell them we jump in 36 hours. Our destination is the Helion system. Intelligence reports the Dracnoth will attack there next. We'll be waiting." Around the command deck, officers exchanged glances. This was it. The moment they had trained for. The moment humanity would reveal itself to a galaxy that thought them extinct. "One more thing," Hyun added. "Remind all personnel. We are not going back as conquerors. We are going as protectors. Every life we save matters. Every world we protect matters. We are not the Dracnoth. We are humanity, and we keep our promises." The message went out across the fleet. Thousands of humans received it. Some were nervous. Some were excited. All of them understood the weight of what they were about to do. Aboard the Silent Dawn, Sora sat with young Kira, showing her images of humanity's homeworlds. Kira's eyes grew wide as she saw cities of glass and light, forests that touched the sky, oceans that stretched beyond horizons. "This is where humans live now?" Kira asked in wonder. "This is where we've been preparing," Sora answered. "Building, learning, waiting for the day we could return. And that day is now?" Sora smiled. "That day is now. Your grandmother's stories are about to come true, Kira. The legend is becoming real." Helion Prime was a beautiful world. 3 continents covered in green forests surrounded by blue oceans. 20 billion people called it home. It was also the last major independent world standing in the path of the Dracnoth Empire. In orbit around Helion Prime, defense stations prepared for the coming storm. Everyone knew the Dracnoth were coming. The question was not if they could win, but how long they could hold out. Maybe long enough for some people to escape. Governor Talus stood in the Planetary Command Center, watching his tactical displays with a heavy heart. He was an old Talarian, his blue skin wrinkled with age. He had governed Helion Prime for 40 years through peace and prosperity. Now he would watch it fall. How long until the Dracnoth arrive? He asked his defense coordinator. 3 hours, sir. Our scouts report over 2,000 warships heading our way. 2,000 ships. Helion Prime had 50 defense platforms and maybe 100 patrol craft. It would be a massacre. "Begin full evacuation of the southern continent," Talus ordered. "Save who we can." But everyone in the room knew the truth. There wasn't enough time to save even a fraction of the population. In deep space beyond Helion Prime, the Dracnoth fleet assembled. Vextar stood on his flagship's bridge, confident and eager. This would be his greatest victory yet. After Helion Prime fell, nothing would stand between him and total sector dominance. "All fleets report ready, Overlord," his tactical officer reported. "Excellent. Begin the attack. I want that world broken before nightfall." The Dracnoth fleet moved forward like a wave of death. 2,000 ships armed with weapons designed to shatter worlds. The crews aboard those ships had crushed dozens of civilizations. This would be just another conquest. But something waited in the darkness beyond Helion Prime's star system. Something the Dracnoth scanners couldn't detect yet. Commander Jiho Park stood on the bridge of the indomitable Humanity's flagship. He was young for a fleet commander, only 35, but he had trained his entire life for this moment. Behind his ship, 100 human vessels waited in perfect formation. They had jumped into position hours ago, hidden by technology the galaxy had forgotten existed. "Enemy fleet entering detection range," Lieutenant Minjihan reported from her tactical station. She was the best strategic mind in the human fleet, able to process battle data faster than most computers. "Hold position," Jiho commanded. "Let them get closer. I want them to see Helion Prime. I want them to think they've won." On the planet below, alarms blared across every city. People looked up at the sky, knowing death approached from the stars. Then something changed. In the command center, Governor Talus watched his displays with confusion. "What am I seeing? Are those sensor errors?" His defense coordinator shook his head, his voice filled with disbelief. "Sir, I'm detecting ships. Lots of ships. They just appeared at the edge of the system. More Dracnoth? No, sir. These signatures don't match anything in our database. They're just sitting there. Between us and the Dracnoth fleet." On the Dracnoth flagship, similar confusion erupted. "Overlord, we're detecting unknown vessels ahead." "Roughly 100 ships," Vextar laughed. 100? Some fools think they can stop us. Scan them. I want to know what species is about to learn a painful lesson. "Sir, the scans are having trouble. These ships are using some kind of advanced stealth technology. But they're big. Really big. The largest one is reading at 5 kilometers long." Vextar's amusement faded slightly. 5 kilometers? What species builds ships that large? Before anyone could answer, a message broadcast across all channels. A human face appeared on every screen in the Dracnoth fleet and on every display in Helion Prime. It was Commander Jiho Park. "Attention, Dracnoth fleet," Jiho said calmly. "I am Commander Jiho Park of the Human Defense Fleet. You are ordered to power down your weapons and withdraw immediately. This world is under our protection." For a moment, silence filled space. Then Vextar began to laugh. Humans, the extinct cowards? This is your great rescue? His laughter echoed across his bridge. You have 100 ships. I have 2,000. You are outnumbered 20-1. Surrender now and I'll kill you quickly. Jiho's expression didn't change. You misunderstand the situation. We're not here to fight you. We're here to stop you. There's a difference. Then stop us. Vextar roared. He turned to his tactical officer. All ships, open fire. Destroy them! The Dracnoth fleet unleashed everything they had. 2,000 warships fired their weapons simultaneously. Missiles, energy beams, plasma torpedoes. A wall of death that could vaporize a moon flew toward the human fleet. On Helion Prime, people watched in horror, certain they were about to witness the destruction of their would-be rescuers. But the human ships didn't explode. Didn't even seem damaged. Shields holding at 97%, Minji reported calmly. Enemy weapons are ineffective, Jiho nodded. Return fire. Disable their weapon systems. No kill shots unless absolutely necessary. The human fleet opened fire. What happened next would be studied by military historians for generations. The human weapons were different. They didn't just hit hard, they hit smart. Each shot was precisely calculated to disable rather than destroy. Missiles that could think, that dodged enemy defenses and struck exactly where they needed to. Energy beams that operated on frequencies the Dracnoth shields couldn't block. In the first minute, 300 Dracnoth ships lost their weapon systems. In the second minute, another 400 went dark. The human ships moved through the enemy fleet like dancers, never where the Dracnoth expected them to be, always 3 steps ahead. Minji's tactical genius showed its worth. She had studied Dr. Taeyang's reports on Dracnoth psychology and command structure. She knew exactly how they would respond to each move, and she was always ready with the counter. Enemy flagship attempting to retreat, Minji reported. Permission to intercept? Granted, Jiho replied. Colonel Do-hyun, prepare your Marines. We're going to take that ship intact. Colonel Do-hyun Sung and his Marine teams had been waiting for this moment. They launched from the Indomitable in assault shuttles too fast for Dracnoth weapons to track. Within minutes, they breached the enemy flagship's hull. The fighting inside was brief and brutal. Do-hyun's Marines used non-lethal weapons when possible, but they were prepared for anything. They moved through the ship with perfect coordination, each team knowing exactly where the others were. On the bridge of his own flagship, Vextar watched his fleet fall apart. Impossible. This couldn't be happening. His empire had crushed dozens of species. How could these humans, these extinct cowards, be doing this? All ships fall back, he ordered desperately. Regroup, and the bridge doors exploded inward. Colonel Do-hyun and his Marines stormed in, weapons raised. In seconds, they had control of the bridge. Do-hyun approached Vextar, who stood frozen in disbelief. Overlord Vextar, you are under arrest for war crimes, genocide, and crimes against sapient species. Drop your weapons. Vextar looked at the human colonel, looked at the Marines who had taken his bridge without breaking a sweat, looked at his tactical displays showing his fleet scattered and broken. You were supposed to be extinct, he whispered. We were never extinct, Do-hyun replied. We were just waiting for the right time to come back. Now drop your weapons. Vextar's claws moved toward a weapon on his belt. Do-hyun was faster. A single stun shot dropped the Overlord to the deck, unconscious. In orbit around Helion Prime, the battle ended as quickly as it began. Less than an hour had passed. The Dracnoth fleet was destroyed or captured. Not a single human ship had been lost. Not a single shot had struck Helion Prime's surface. Commander Jiho broadcast another message, this time to the planet below. People of Helion Prime, you are safe. The Dracnoth threat has been neutralized. We are humanity, and we have returned to keep an ancient promise. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. In the Planetary Command Center, Governor Talus stared at his displays with tears running down his face. Around him, his staff erupted in cheers and celebration. They had been saved. Impossibly, miraculously saved. Across the galaxy, every species with working sensors watched in stunned silence. The battle had been broadcast, seen by billions. Humanity, the species everyone thought extinct, had just defeated the most powerful military force in known space in less than an hour. The legend had become real, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Aboard the Indomitable, Jiho turned to his crew. Send a message to all liberated ships. Tell them they can go home. Tell them humanity has returned and we will make sure the Dracnoth never threaten anyone again. Minji smiled from her tactical station. Sir, we're receiving thousands of transmissions from across the galaxy. Everyone wants to know who we are, where we've been. Tell them the truth, Jiho said. We're humanity. We left to become strong enough to protect the weak. And now we're back. The news of humanity's return spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every news network, every communication channel carried the same story. The extinct species had returned, and they had destroyed the Dracnoth Empire's most powerful fleet in less than an hour. In the Great Hall of Vega Station, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session once again. But this time something was different. At the center of the circular table sat Ambassador Nari Cho, no longer disguised, wearing the formal uniform of the Human Confederation. Her gray hair was pulled back, and though she was old, her eyes blazed with purpose. High Chancellor Mira looked at Nari with a mixture of awe and confusion. Ambassador Cho, we thought your species extinct. Where have you been for 300 years? Nari stood to address the assembly. We never left the galaxy. We went beyond its edge, into the deep dark where no one thought to look. And we've been preparing. Preparing for what? Trademaster Quilox asked, his mandibles clicking nervously. To conquer us? No, Nari said firmly. To protect you. 3 centuries ago, humanity stood at a crossroads. We had developed weapons so terrible that using them would have destroyed not just our enemies, but innocent worlds caught in the crossfire. We could have stayed and fought for dominance. Instead, we chose a different path. She activated a display showing images of humanity's hidden worlds. Vast cities built on artificial planets, shipyards that stretched for light years, training facilities where generations had prepared for this moment. We left to become worthy of the responsibility we knew would come. We studied every species in the galaxy. We learned your languages, your cultures, your needs. We built a military force capable of protecting everyone, not just ourselves. And we waited for the day when we would be truly needed. The assembled representatives stared in silence. Some looked hopeful. Others looked afraid. That day came when the Dracnoth began their campaign of conquest. Nari continued. We received the call and we answered. Not as conquerors, but as guardians. Across the galaxy, humanity's ships appeared in system after system. Not to invade, but to liberate. Captain Yuna Bayek led fleet after fleet in surgical strikes against Dracnoth occupation forces. Her tactics were precise and devastating. She would jump into a system, broadcast a warning to the occupiers, then give them exactly 1 hour to surrender. Most surrendered, those who didn't face the full might of human military technology. But even in battle, Yuna's forces showed restraint. They targeted weapons and military installations, never civilian populations. They used non-lethal methods whenever possible. And they always offered mercy to those who surrendered. On the occupied world of Talos III, Yuna's fleet arrived to find Dracnoth forces holding 50,000 civilians hostage in a sports arena. The Dracnoth commander threatened to execute them all if the humans attacked. Yuna didn't attack. Instead, she sent in special operations teams led by Colonel Do-hyun. Using advanced stealth technology and precision tactics, the teams infiltrated the arena, neutralized the guards, and evacuated all 50,000 people before the Dracnoth even realized what was happening. When the Dracnoth commander realized the hostages were gone, he found himself surrounded by human marines. He had expected death. Instead, Do-hyun offered him a choice: surrender and face trial, or resist and be subdued. The commander chose to surrender. He joined dozens of other Dracnoth officers being held aboard human ships, waiting for proper legal proceedings. In a cell aboard the Indomitable, former Overlord Vextar sat alone. His scales had lost their shine. His yellow eyes stared at the walls. Guards brought him food 3 times a day. They were always polite, always professional. It made him angry. Commander Jiho Park visited him one afternoon. He sat outside the energy field that served as a cell door and looked at the fallen Overlord. Why? Vextar asked. Why haven't you killed me? I would have killed you. I know, Jiho replied calmly. That's the difference between us. We don't kill unless we have no choice. You're going to stand trial for your crimes. You'll face justice, not revenge. Justice is a lie the weak tell themselves to feel better about their weakness. Jiho shook his head. Justice is what separates civilization from chaos. It's what makes us different from you. He stood to leave. I've brought someone to see you. I think you need to meet them. The energy field shimmered and a small figure entered the cell area. It was Kira, the young avian girl that Captain Sora had rescued. She looked at Vextar with eyes that had seen too much suffering for her age. Do you know what you did to my world? Kira asked quietly. Do you even remember Valen? Vextar looked away. I conquered many worlds. I don't remember all their names. My parents were teachers, Kira continued. They taught children to read, to think, to dream. Your soldiers killed them because they spoke against the invasion. My city had 3 million people. How many of them are alive now? Vextar said nothing. I wanted to hate you, Kira said. I wanted you to suffer like you made everyone suffer. But Captain Sora taught me something. She said that revenge only creates more pain. She said the only way forward is justice and healing. She turned to leave, then looked back. I hope you learn that. I hope someday you understand what you did was wrong, because that's the only way you can be anything more than a monster. After she left, Vextar sat in silence for a long time. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never experienced before. Shame. Back on Vega Station, Fleet Admiral Jun-Ho Lee arrived to address the Galactic Council. He was an older man, gray-haired and distinguished, wearing the formal uniform of humanity's Supreme Commander. He carried himself with quiet authority. Members of the Council, Jun-Ho began. Humanity proposes a new charter for galactic governance, a system where no single species can dominate others through military might, where disputes are settled through dialogue and law, not conquest, where the strong protect the weak instead of preying on them. And who enforces this charter? Chancellor Mira asked. Who has the power to stop aggressors? We do, Jun-Ho said simply. Humanity offers itself as peacekeepers, not rulers, not conquerors, protectors. Any world that wishes our protection will have it. Any species that attempts to build an empire through force will face us. The room erupted in debate. Some representatives welcomed this. Others feared it. What if humanity decided to become the new Dracnoth? What if this was all a trick to gain control? Ambassador Nari raised her hand for silence. I understand your concerns. You're wondering if we can be trusted with this power. Let me show you something. She activated another display. This one showed footage from across the liberated worlds. Human medical teams treating wounded civilians. Human engineers rebuilding destroyed infrastructure. Human teachers helping to restore educational systems. Human diplomats working to establish fair governments. This is what we do with power, Nari said. We heal, we build, we protect. Judge us by our actions, not your fears. Dr. Taeyang Im, who had traveled to Vega Station to present his research, stood to speak. I've studied every major species in this galaxy. I've learned your histories, your cultures, your values. Humanity doesn't want to rule you. We've spent 3 centuries learning how to work with you, not against you. He brought up data showing Dracnoth military patterns. The Dracnoth succeeded because they were unified under a single command. They were predictable but powerful. We defeated them because we understood them. We can help you understand each other. Build bridges instead of walls. Trademaster Quilox clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. If we accept this charter, what happens to the Dracnoth? Does humanity execute them all? No, Jun-Ho said firmly. The Dracnoth people are not responsible for their leaders' crimes. We will help them build a new government, one based on law and rights, not conquest and domination. The guilty will face trial. The innocent will be protected. And if they resist, another representative asked. Then we will defend ourselves, Jun-Ho replied. But we will always try peace first. The debate continued for hours. Finally, a vote was called. The new galactic charter passed with 35 species in favor, 3 against and 2 abstaining. It wasn't unanimous, but it was a start. As the session ended, alarms suddenly blared across the station. A frantic message came through from a border system. This is Outpost Delta 9. We're under attack! Unknown ships, not Dracnoth. They're not responding to hails and the transmission cut off. Jun-Ho's expression hardened. Get me tactical information immediately. Within minutes, reports came in. A group of Dracnoth warlords refusing to accept their empire's defeat had fled to the outer territories. They had seized doomsday weapons from secret military facilities, weapons designed to destroy entire star systems. The lead warlord's name was Krath. He broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. You think you've won? You think the Dracnoth will submit to your weakness? I would rather see the galaxy burn than bow to humans or anyone else. I have weapons that can sterilize 100 worlds. Surrender to me or watch everything die. Junho looked at Nari. So much for easy victories. Nari smiled grimly. We knew this wouldn't be simple. Time to show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of. Junho nodded. Get me Captain Sora. We're going to need her skills for what comes next. The fortress of Warlord Krath hung in the darkness at the edge of Dracnoth space. It was built into a massive asteroid, reinforced with shields and weapon systems. Inside its cold metal halls, Krath stood before a display showing the galaxy he planned to destroy. He was larger than most Dracnoth, his scales black as night. Scars covered his body from 100 battles. He had been Vextar's enforcer, the one sent to break worlds that resisted too hard. Now with his empire fallen, he refused to accept defeat. They think they can defeat us, Krath growled to his followers. These soft humans with their talk of justice and mercy. I'll show them what true power looks like. Around him, 50 other Dracnoth commanders stood, all of them refusing to surrender. They had stolen 12 doomsday devices from secret military facilities. Each weapon could ignite a star, causing it to go supernova and destroy everything within several light years. If we cannot rule the galaxy, Krath declared, then no one will. I want those weapons armed and ready. If the humans come for us, we'll take half the galaxy with us when we die. Far across space, Admiral Hyun Kang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, studying tactical displays. The situation was worse than anyone had expected. Krath's forces were distributed across 12 different systems, each one holding a doomsday weapon. Attacking even one would trigger the others. We need a simultaneous strike, Hyun said. Hit all 12 locations at once. Give them no time to react. That spreads our forces thin, Commander Jiho pointed out. We'd be sending small teams against fortified positions. I know, but it's our only option. Hyun turned to Captain Sora, who had joined the command staff. Captain Lim, I need your expertise. These will be stealth operations. Infiltration, not invasion, Sora nodded. My team can handle one target. We'll need 11 more teams trained in special operations. You'll have them, Hyun promised. Colonel Do-hyun is already assembling Marine units. You'll each have the best people we have. In another part of the ship, young Kira found Ambassador Nari in an observation deck, looking out at the stars. The old woman seemed tired, the weight of centuries pressing on her shoulders. Ambassador Nari, Kira asked quietly. Can I ask you something? Nari smiled gently. Of course, child. Everyone says humans are heroes, that you came back to save us. But are you afraid? Does it scare you that so many people depend on you? Nari was quiet for a moment. Yes, every day. The responsibility is enormous. What if we fail? What if we're not strong enough or smart enough? What if we make the wrong choice? Then why do you do it? Because someone has to, Nari replied. Because we have the power to help, and with power comes responsibility. My grandmother taught me that. Her grandmother taught her. For 300 years, every generation of humans has prepared for this moment. Not because we wanted power, but because we knew someday people would need us. She looked at Kira. You lost your family because no one was strong enough to stop the Dracnoth. We could have stayed hidden. We could have let the galaxy tear itself apart, but that would make us no better than those who have the power to help, but choose not to use it. Kira thought about this. What happens after? When Krath is defeated and the galaxy is safe, then the real work begins, Nari said. Building a galaxy where everyone is protected. Where species work together instead of fighting. Where young girls like you never have to watch their homes burn. She put a gentle hand on Kira's shoulder. That's the galaxy we're trying to create. The preparations took 3 days. Captain Sora trained her infiltration team relentlessly. Each person knew their role perfectly. They studied blueprints of Dracnoth fortifications. They practiced disabling the doomsday weapons in simulators hundreds of times. Dr. Taeyang briefed them on Dracnoth psychology. Krath and his followers believe they're warriors. They value strength above all else. They won't surrender easily, even when defeated. Be prepared for them to fight to the death. Then we'll be ready for anything, Sora replied. On the 4th day, the operation began. 12 human teams launched simultaneously from different ships, each heading for a different target. The timing had to be perfect. If even one team failed, Krath would trigger all the weapons. Sora's team approached their target. a Dracnoth command post built into a moon in the Sarvan system. They flew in complete stealth, invisible to every sensor. The silent dawn deposited them on the surface, then retreated to a safe distance. The team moved across the barren landscape like ghosts. Special suits masked their heat signatures. Dampeners eliminated sound. They were invisible, silent, deadly. They breached the facility through a maintenance hatch that Dracnoth arrogance had left poorly guarded. Inside, they moved through corridors with practiced efficiency. Every corner checked. Every threat neutralized before it could raise an alarm. In other systems, 11 other teams conducted similar operations. Each one flawlessly executed. Each one moving toward their target without being detected. Sora's team reached the central chamber where the Doomsday weapon was housed. It was a massive device glowing with unstable energy. 5 Dracnoth guards stood watch. Sora gave hand signals. Her team moved as one, 5 precise shots. 5 guards dropped unconscious before they hit the floor. Sora approached the weapon's control panel. This was the critical moment. She had 30 seconds to disable it before automated systems detected the tampering. Her fingers flew across the controls, following the sequence Dr. Taeyang had developed. 20 seconds, 15, 10. The weapon powered down just as alarms began to blare. Package secured, Sora reported over the secure channel. Moving to extraction. Across the galaxy, similar reports came in. One by one, all 12 teams reported success. All 12 Doomsday weapons disabled. Not a single human casualty. In his fortress, Krath watched in horror as every indicator turned red. All 12 weapons offline. All 12 garrisons reporting human infiltration. Impossible. How could they have hit every target simultaneously? Launch all fighters, Krath roared. I'll destroy them myself. But it was too late. Admiral Heun's fleet emerged from FTL surrounding the fortress. The Indomitable alone was larger than Krath's entire remaining force. Warlord Krath, Heun's voice broadcast across all channels. Your weapons are disabled. Your forces are surrounded. This is over. Surrender now and you will face trial. Resist and we will take you by force. Krath's claws dug into his command chair. Surrender? Never. He was Dracnoth. He was a warrior. He would die before he submitted to these humans. All ships, attack, he ordered. The Dracnoth fighters launched. They flew with suicidal bravery, knowing they couldn't win but refusing to back down. The human fleet responded with devastating precision, not destroying the fighters but disabling them. Every shot carefully calculated to neutralize without killing. Within minutes, the Dracnoth fighter force was drifting helplessly in space, their pilots alive but unable to fight. The fortress's shields collapsed under sustained fire from the Indomitable. Colonel Do-hyun's Marines breached the fortress. They moved through it like a wave, encountering fierce resistance. The Dracnoth soldiers fought with desperate courage. But courage alone couldn't overcome superior training, technology, and tactics. Do-hyun reached the command center to find Krath waiting, armed with a massive energy blade. The warlord charged with a roar. Do-hyun dodged, his armor's enhanced reflexes making him faster than the Dracnoth expected. He brought his stun weapon up, but Krath knocked it aside. They fought hand to hand. Krath was larger, stronger, but Do-hyun was faster, better trained. The battle raged across the command center. Finally, Do-hyun found an opening. He ducked under Krath's swing and delivered a precise strike to the nerve cluster on the warlord's neck. Krath collapsed, unconscious. Target secured, Do-hyun reported. All hostiles neutralized. No casualties on either side. On the Indomitable's bridge, Admiral Hyun allowed himself a small smile. Excellent work, everyone. Bring them in for trial. The news spread across the galaxy instantly. Humanity had stopped the doomsday threat without firing a single lethal shot. 12 simultaneous operations perfectly executed. The galaxy watched in awe. 1 year later, the galaxy looked very different. The Dracnoth homeworld of Draknor had a new government, elected by its people for the first time in their history. Vextar and Krath stood trial for war crimes. The trial was broadcast across all worlds. Both were found guilty. Both were sentenced to life imprisonment, with the provision that they spend their time helping to rebuild the worlds they had destroyed. Surprisingly, Vextar accepted this fate with something resembling grace. Months of imprisonment, of watching humans treat even their worst enemies with dignity, had changed him. He would spend the rest of his life trying to repair the damage he had caused. Krath remained defiant to the end. but even he couldn't deny the evidence of his crimes. The new Galactic Charter was officially adopted. Humanity established peacekeeping stations across the galaxy, but they did more than just patrol. They offered technology, education, medical aid. They worked to lift up every species, not dominate them. Ambassador Nari, now over 94 years old, sat in the reformed Galactic Council chambers. Around her sat representatives from every species, working together to solve problems through discussion rather than force.